instead of saying things like, no, that makes no sense, you say things like, so any way you slice it, it's not good. Whatever it is. I'm Dr. V. Boykin, a former single mom, stripper, and felon. Now a doctor, keynote speaker, and author of Fix Your Face and Watch Your Tone. I help marginalized communities achieve a more equitable personal and professional experience. Today, I want to talk to you about how to handle workplace conflict and what you can do when you find yourself in the midst of conflict. So here's the deal. We all know that workplace conflict is expensive. It is expensive to your career. It is expensive to your social capital that you have to spend in order to win or in order to repair the damage that's done with the conflict. And many times, conflict in the workplace doesn't even get you the outcome that you want because businesses are always people first. That means that number one, even if you're right, it won't matter if people don't want to work with you. And number two, if you're wrong, you've alienated the people that can help you find the right solution. So any way you slice it, it's not good. If you're a woman or marginalized community, also known as the global majority, in the workplace, that also means that workplace conflict is very expensive. And this is because of the stereotypes that go with it. The angry Black woman, the aggressive Black man, or it could be the not as smart brown person. Whatever your category is that they want to put you in, it's more expensive when you're one of few. So what do you do to handle those workplace conflicts? Well, number one, there's always a way you can make a situation better. And I don't mean that in some fairy tale way. I mean, literally, there is always at least one thing you can do to make a conflict de-escalate. Number one, you can remove yourself. And remember, this is not an airport. You do not have to announce your departure. So when you say things like, whatever y'all want to do, or I don't care, go ahead, or it's whatever, any of those types of things are announcing your departure. And that is not your job. You're not a flight attendant. You're not a gate agent. And you want to be smarter than that in how you approach conflict. So that's the first thing that I would say is step away without announcing your departure. Now, when you do depart from the conflict, it doesn't mean that you go on to save the company over $500,000. Not that I've ever done that. But even when you do those things, even when you have those conflicts, you can still have those successes after. So you still go on to do good work. You still go on to save over 100 work hours by innovation and in achieving a goal or objective. It just means you do it with less conflict and friction. It doesn't mean that people aren't going to actively target you. I used to believe that no one targeted you and that was all made up and kind of an excuse. But no, it's true. And when you've been targeted many times, you start to get it. When you're targeted, that would mean that an example would be your achievements are overlooked or you are receiving more of the blame or chatter about doing something wrong. Or when you have a little conflict, it's conflated with another issue or exploded into a larger narrative about you. That happens when you're targeted. Sometimes you make yourself a target. Sometimes you're the target because of the package that you came in, or somebody just doesn't care for you as much. You're not a favorite. Either way, you want to de-escalate the conflict. So number one, you're going to remove yourself without announcing your departure. Number two, you're going to start to lead with curiosity. And this one is a bit trickier, especially when you're pretty pissed off. But instead of saying things like, no, that makes no sense, or even going behind someone's back and saying, no, you know that didn't make any sense. You say things like, I'm really curious about how they got to that idea. I'm really curious about what led them to that decision. I'm really curious what informs their point of view. The action behind that is something like, would you share with me how you came up with your thought process? Not your conclusion, but your thought process. Curiosity is all about acknowledging how the person got to where they were. And when you acknowledge how someone got to where they were, they're going to feel more heard, more seen, and be more open to understanding where you are. Remember, in a conflict, your main goal in the workplace, and maybe at home too, separate subject, but definitely in the workplace is to get on the same side of the table. You want to make it so that you are no longer battling against them. You are discussing things with them. So remove yourself from the conflict and get on the same side of the table. So how do you do that when you're totally not on the same side of the table? Well, sometimes you pretend, and sometimes you search the depths of the great wide ocean to find one thing you can agree on. Either way, when you're leading with curiosity, you can find something that makes even the smallest sense, and that can put you on the same side of the table. So maybe they say, well, I noticed that they were super overworked and it was taking way too long to do something. Well, it's something that maybe had already been refined. This is the best path. Maybe you just solved for this and now they're trying to undo what you solved, whatever it is. You can agree on something in that statement, which is, I agree. This amount of work is overwhelming at times, and having a better solution would be great. Let's work together to figure it out. Now you're on the same side of the table. It doesn't mean that when you get home, you're not angry, pissed off, irritated, and maybe having that internal discussion where you're not so happy with the other person and you don't understand them. But it does mean in the corporate workspace, number one, you de-escalate the conflict because you leave it without announcing your departure. Number two, you find how you can get on the same side of the table, and you do that through three, leading with curiosity. Those might have been in reverse order, but I know you understand what I'm saying. So focus in on those three areas and really work to make sure that your conflict in the workplace remains minimal, because every single business is a people first business. My mentor, Dan Tyre, told me that, and it sticks with me because it's true. No matter where you go, no matter what industry you're in, every business is people first. So use these three tips. Let me know how it goes. I'm interested in hearing about it, and have a great week.